Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Azabi here, back again with My Hero Academia Season 4. We are on episode 19, and a quick little announcement just before I get into the My Hero stuff. I have now officially finished Hunter x Hunter, so, you know, if you didn't already know, I did 4 episodes for early access patrons a week, which means that I am now finished, even though I'm back in, like, episode 85 or something, released to the public. The rest of the show is available on early access, so if you want to go get access to that now, you can do by going into the description, going over to my Patreon and becoming an early access tier patron. It's only $5 a month, so you know, if you wish, you can go over there and watch that. But because that is finished, I am now starting a brand new show tomorrow, Wednesday the 11th. I'm sure you'll be all excited about that show because it's something I haven't reacted to yet, and it's apparently very good. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm sure you can, you know, have your own guesses and whatnot. But episode 1 of that show will be released tomorrow for the public, for everybody. Episode 2 will be available for early access to our patrons, and then every Wednesday, 2 episodes of that will be released, you know, to the public and whatever, and for early access to your patrons, so you can get it a week early if you wish. But yeah, so that out of the way. What happened last time? So we're doing a school festival. That's what we're doing. We have Jiro, who's sort of heading the whole thing, even though she was a bit, you know, off-puttish about the whole idea at first. You know, she went into her cute mode and was like, you know what, I'm going to make this rockin'. So, you know what I mean? I trust her to do a very good job with that. It looks like they're going for the to put on like a sort of like a mini fest. Well, I suppose it's a school festival, but they're like putting on their own sort of band performance by the looks of it. You know, seeing as she has the whole you know, different, like, you know, instruments and everything like that, which will be cool. I don't know who's going to be playing what. I imagine Jiro's going to be playing bass guitar because that's what it looks like in the opening, which, you know, is cool. We also have Midoriya and Mirio, who went to see Eri. And Eri was, you know, feeling racked with guilt over what had happened in the Overhaul arc and how people got hurt. She doesn't know Night Eye's been killed yet, you know, which of course, because it would just be too harsh, you know. But yeah, I mean, Mirio's going to take Eri on a date to the school festival, which is going to be nice. The only thing is, though, we've got a new villain on the loose called Gentle, who I really like. Because I don't think he's all that incredibly malicious. Though I did like towards the end of the episode where he says, "Oh, I'm gonna have to, you know, get through some greater feats in order to," because his whole idea is that he just wants to go down in history, and he's losing views on some videos now. So yeah, it just depends on how far he's willing to go. But at this moment, I like him now, and obviously he's got a little sort of sidekick called Labrava. And we don't really know the ins and outs of their quirks yet. We saw like one that was like proper wobbly, and I don't know what that entails, but you know, I'm sure we'll get that at some point. And yeah, that's it. Also, I wrote down something midweek, like after I'd recorded the episode and edited it and uploaded and everything, and it was surrounding the whole idea that when when Midoriya and Mirio were talking to Eri, Midoriya said that she's not truly saved yet, and I kind of thought about it for a moment, and I realized that everything that Midoriya has been involved with has always sort of saved them mentally, rather than just physically. Like, there seems to be like something that, and I don't know if that is written on purpose. I just thought I would write it down and talk about it just in case it is actually something. I feel like Midoriya saves people from like a more mental state than a physical one. Like every save that he's been involved with, the person that he's saving has had this sort of you know, like this mental state about them. Like, you know, you had obviously Eri, which is the obvious one, you know what I mean? She's never been, like, you know, she feels like it's her fault because Overhaul put that, like, her in that state of mind. You know, even though it absolutely wasn't her fault at all. You had Ida versus Stain, and he was basically, he was out for revenge because of what happened to his brother. Todoroki in the sports festival, again another thing where he basically brought out the fire in Todoroki even though he didn't want to, and sort of brought that out of him. And I think that sort of ties back to when Todoroki was telling him during the camp I think he said you have a way of getting to people and whatnot, and obviously the same with the little kid in the training camp. What the fuck was his name? You get what I mean, though. So yeah, it seems that everybody that he saves, he sort of invades their mind and sort of like gets them to change their sort of outlook, which I wonder if that is something that is specific to Midoriya, and I wonder if that could lead to the end of the show, where obviously with Shigaraki being the counterpart, I wonder if that's what it is leading up to. Like, he eventually saves Shigaraki from himself. Obviously with the whole story with him and, All Might's predecessor and how they're related and whatnot. It makes me wonder if that's what they're leading towards with Midoriya. But we'll see. I just thought I'd talk about it anyway. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to really talk about. I've been rambling on. So yeah, we're going to get into episode 19. If you do want to go watch the reaction itself, you can do in the link below. That'll obviously take you to my website where you can watch the actual 10-minute footage. But if you do want to watch the full length, that link will also be in the description. You can do by going over to that link there, and you'll, if you become a full-length tier access patron, you can get access to the whole thing uncut. But if you just want to watch the 10-minute one, link is obviously in the description there. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get in episode 19 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 19. Wow. I could never, this arc was made for me, really, wasn't it? It was just made for me. From the very fucking beginning, my two favourite characters have been Bakugo and Jiro. Bakugo, of course he would be a drummer. That was the first instrument I ever picked up when I took, when I started GCSEs for music in high school. I then changed over to bass guitar, so my two favourite characters play the instruments that I started playing on. Jiro is a fucking angel. God, I actually got goosebumps and my hair stood on end when she was singing. God, just hit right in the fucking heartstrings. The villain I love. So there's fucking that. I can't believe, Bakugo on the drums. Oh, it's just everything he does is a dream come true. Everything. Right. Where do I start? Right. So I guess I'll get the gentle stuff out of the way, since that was pretty much at the very beginning. So he pointed out in a sort of another video that he did, that there was a time towards the very beginning of the sort of the quirk, like when the quirks started coming about and things, and he said that there was little sort of difference, or like there was a fine line between heroes and villains, and it was more of an era where I guess it's easier to stand out and have a legacy as a hero than it is as a villain. It seems as that's what he was putting out there, even though he only really mentioned All Might, and he mentioned 3 villains, which obviously one was All For One, and the other 2 are people that I don't know if we'll ever really get sort of acquainted with. I feel like they may have just been sort of extra flavour, and it's not really something that they'll show up in the future. But we had Destro, the commander of the Meta Liberation Army, which is interesting because I felt like this episode in particular was meta a few times. Like, you had fucking Pipsqueak fucking saying that because of my character design I can't I can't reach the strings over the guitar. And there was a fucking another one as well towards the end with Gentle, like after the credit scene. But so yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get introduced to that guy. And there's also the other guy, the Peerless Thief, OG Harima. I mean, judging by Gentle and because he seems a bit of the older like sort of generation, I feel like these are villains that kind of past their time. I mean, All For One kind of got a pass because he is like, well, we assume. I feel like he's able to de-age, isn't he? Well, he must be able to, because he's been around for fucking so long. But yeah, so that was those. I said this in a comment last week to somebody, but the idea that Gentle, like, the most villainous act I could ever throw on this guy is how terrible he is at pouring tea. I mean, he's kind of like what you would assume to be the English, stereotype. And he can't even fucking pour tea correctly. He fucks it up every time. Jesus. And I've never heard of royal flush. I'm sure that's just a fictional tea. You know what I mean? But, I guess they can't actually put the names of actual tea in there. Although I feel like other anime has done that. It may have actually been My Hero. Wasn't there the was it the second half of season 3, the one that was like a she was like an intelligence, she had like an intelligence quirk, and she was like pouring tea and stuff, and I think she mentioned some teas. Well, I don't know, we're talking about tea, for fuck's sake. Anyway, yeah, like, that's the most villainous act I could ever put on Gentle, it's just great. But even he is not like a villain, because he pointed out to himself, like, he's a vigilante, and considering what he does, I suppose he is. Though because he says that he goes after corruption in sort of corporations, and that there was this certain corporation that was mislabeling the fluffy pudding, and changing the expiry date and stuff, and they even had a press conference, I guess, surrounding all of that, but dodged the questions and whatever. So I guess there's like, I mean, it's just one of those things where even in real life we all assume that the corporations that make all the money are corrupt in some form or fashion. Like, they're just arseholes, right? We all think that. But it would be interesting to know if Gentle actually does have factual evidence on it, because it seems like he's just doing it because he feels like that's the way it is, other than having any real evidence that it, like, to support the theory. But I mean, I'll back him, sure, why not? So yeah, so that was the reason why I went after that store. It was just a store that sold the product. I assume that product is sold elsewhere and other things, but he chose that store because it was the biggest chain in Japan or something like that. He said something like that. So even though it didn't really work. I mean, they went through the comments. They went through the comments. I love the one that just said, "Show us La Brava," because of course. And then the other comments are just like, "Oh, this is dumb. This is pointless." Like, when you've got, it's just, it totally rings true, doesn't it? Like, you need, people are now wanting, because they've been introduced to, like, the whole stain thing and everything like that, it's a lot more sort of impactful and intriguing. So of course Gentle's like, he's not a true like villain. The stuff that he does doesn't really end with anything impactful, because he doesn't really do it. And he does, he goes into a shop to get all the money, but then doesn't take the money. So the end there's no impact there. So of course, if people just will not take him seriously and just be like, this is stupid, like, because I'd imagine with it being a video site, a lot of the audience members are younger kids and teens and everything, and they're more up for the, like, they don't care about the history or preservation of this guy who doesn't even do anything of note. Which is what Gentle likes to go on about, and yeah, it just doesn't sort of ring anybody's bells. So yeah, but I mean, he's got La Brava, who's his biggest fan, But yeah, we got another little look at his quirk, which seems like he can manipulate. It seems like he can manipulate the like. I think it looks like it's almost similar to Mimic's quirk. Although Gentle doesn't have to, like, become the thing. He can just, I guess, change the properties of, like, because he literally made the floor below him a trampoline. And I'm positive that's his and not Labrava's. Because when he left the store, the same thing was kind of happening. And he clearly has a lot of control over his quirk. Because he made that trampoline, like, perfect to land up on a building, you know. Because I imagine they aren't, like, you know, I imagine he isn't invincible to hitting the floor. But I guess he could just, you know, well, we don't know the ins and outs of his quirk. Maybe he has to touch the floor in order to manipulate it, or he has to touch the material that he's changing. You know, because I suppose if he was a bit too high and it would hurt on the landing, he, you know, if his quirk allowed him to use it whilst not touching the floor, then I guess that would help with the landing. But the fact that he didn't even need to do that means that he's got really good control over his quirk. You know, because we know like the likes of Todoroki needs to he needs to have his to touch the floor, right? Which is why they pointed out in his fight against Bakugo in the sports festival, when he was flying through the air, he shouldn't have been able to swing his ice around. Though I don't know. I feel like that's something I should know, but that's something I recall. But I don't think we've really, other than the sports festival, we haven't had a really up close like look at Todoroki a lot compared to other people. So, but I feel like he's always had his feet on the floor. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for... Oh yeah, General also, I like the fact that he went to Labrava and he was quoted as saying, if you blame others, you'll never live up to your fullest potential. Which I like. It furthers that whole thing of he's not really a true villain, and even with his ideals that he actually, you know, things that he says, he's not a villain in that way. So he doesn't blame others for like what he would consider his failures, and therefore he's just, I guess that means he's not going to do anything out of the realm of what he wouldn't do now, which means that he's not going to change for other people because other people think that he should be like, he should actually up his game and maybe hurt some people, which is something that just isn't in his it isn't in his vocabulary to do that. So I like the fact that it seems like he's not going to change for anybody, so therefore he's not going to become a major villain, and he's just going to stay the way that he is and does things his own way. But I also like the fact that quote also mimics Bakugo's a couple of episodes ago, when he told the kid, he said, if you look down on others, you know, you'll never hit your potential either. So you know, there's a nice little sort of mirror thing there. So yeah, that was pretty much it for Gentle. And then we got to the part where they're discussing the concert again. We had the general studies class, a couple of students from there basically looking over, and Bakugo picking up on it immediately. And I'll admit I kind of got it wrong there, which is something I don't normally do with Bakugo. Normally I can get what he's thinking right there, but I love the fact that later when he brought that up, that it was something that obviously Todoroki had said from that moment on. That was when a burden had hit him, which I like the fact that Todoroki recognized that, because Deku obviously recognized it from when he had his fight with Bakugo back in season 3, episode 23. Because Bakugo obviously poured his heart out to him, but he obviously didn't do it to Todoroki. So it's nice to see that that's kind of coming across to Todoroki without... Because obviously Bakugo is not going to let that slide to Todoroki, is he? He's not going to tell Todoroki any of that. So it's nice that through this, Todoroki's able to pick up on that. Because, I mean, well, let's be honest, it's kind of like those three up at the top, and ever since, you know, pretty much the back end of season 1, it seemed like it was basically those three that were propped up. So yeah, it's nice that Todoroki's sort of getting that. But I like that it never. I love the fact that it never changes Bakugo's initial character of being sort of like that overly zealous character, but it means that he doesn't have to change his personality entirely to be like a genuinely nice like guy. Like when he's saying this stuff, like saying genuinely nice things, it means that his personality isn't gone, which I like. It's just totally a different character than than I've ever really seen. I can't even compare. I remember when back in the back when it was season 1 and season 2, it was like, oh, he's like a Vegeta character, but he's not though, is he? He's not. I mean, yeah, like the whole thing of pride and everything like reigns true with him and everything, but there's so much to Bakugo, man, so much. But yeah, I like the fact that it sort of, the way that he was talking about it was like, they're just going to say it as a slap in the face, and at that moment, but at that point in the conversation, you're like, oh shit, like, is that the reason why he truly doesn't like want to do these drums or anything like that? But then it changes up to the point where it's something that you're not expecting, where instead of saying I'm not doing it because this is just going to be a slap in the face of those guys, I actually would care about them, and then it's like immediately comes back around and he's like, let's make it like the fucking so good that they have to love it kind of thing, which is really cool, really cool. I love the development, man. I just love it. So yeah, Bakugo on the drums, Momo on the keyboard because she played piano, she said, when she was a kid. Jiro on bass and singing, fucking love it. And then using quirks for special effects, of course. That, I mean, after the whole provisional license thing that we had a few episodes back, or a couple episodes back, where they used their quirks to have a fun time with the kids, like, yeah, it makes sense now. Even though before then I would have never even guessed that's how of course you can use your quirks like that. Why did I just... Because in my head, like, over the course of the whole show, it's just like, I guess you get so privy to the idea that you're using your quirks against villains. But I never even thought, use your quirks in other interesting ways. Doesn't always have to be fighting villains with them, right? You can use them in a variety of different ways. So yeah, I mean, and that's something that should have really reigned true back in episode 5 of season 1, where it's like the start of UA, and Aizawa was getting like a feel for like the classes, like their power levels and what they can do with their quirks and stuff, and you have them racing and things, so it's not just using them against villains. So yeah, using quirks for special effects, of course, makes total sense. And then we got the... Ida pointed out the sort of team. So the band team's fucking fantastic. And so obviously we've got Kaminari and Tokoyami as guitarists. I should have known that. Like, especially with Tokoyami, I just feel like, of course, it's a perfect fit. And he calls his guitar an axe. God, I mean, just judging by the way that he is the most sort of what you would consider the gothic kid. So of course he would call it an axe. He'd be into like metal music, wouldn't he? So yeah, and then we got the effects team and the dance team. I noticed that Oyama was on both teams. so yeah, I mean, he's going to be dancing, which we saw that he's starting to get the hang of it last episode. Ashido taught them how to do that, like how to start that sort of dance routine and stuff. So I wonder if they're going to really be dancing, because if it's rave rock music, I'm not sure it kind of works with... Yeah, I don't think that works with the whole like hip hop dancing, does it? So I don't know. They may have to change that a little bit. I mean, if it's a rave, I don't know. You got to get glow sticks on the go anyway if it's going to be a rave rock kind of thing. And also, I'm trying to think of what the actual music would be. You know? I don't know. So I'm thinking like there's rock music out there that does, it's obviously, it can like be heavy rock, but they obviously, they mix in synth with it. I'm just interested to see like how Jira's going to sing, because obviously when she sang there, it was like more of an angelic voice. So I don't know if it's going to be like if she's going to put on like a, if you've ever heard sort of like euphoric trance stuff, generally they'll use a woman singer to sing like these, over the like basically it will sing over the instrumental, and it'll be angelic to obviously fit with the style of music. But it'll be interesting to see what that's going to be anyway. And yeah, so that's that. Then we got Midoriya and All Might, which I'm glad that we got this, and we're back to this again, because I feel like after All Might had battled All for One, and obviously they set up the domes and everything like that, that All Might had said to Deku's mother that he would train Midoriya and everything, and since then we never really saw it. We haven't really seen it all that much. I mean, he said a couple things to Midoriya when they were doing their special moves, which I suppose did obviously lend a hand. But I preferred this sort of style where, it's just them two, and we're seeing All Might and Deku basically be that sort of mentor and student together. And we got a great scene where, so first of all, so the 20% thing, I don't think Deku talked about that when he was fighting off against Overhaul, that because he said he could use it at 20%, but I don't think he ever really said at that point that 20% was tough to keep up. And obviously he was going crazy, so he probably wouldn't have felt it until afterwards with all the adrenaline kicking in. So yeah, I guess I don't know. Like he could be. I mean, they never really said a percentage here, but at this point, I'm willing to bet after the Overhaul stuff that he's not at 8% now, but he could probably push it to like 10% or something like that. At least like all at once without feeling it through his entire body. But yeah, I mean, All Might, giving him like the whole thing, like, well, maybe you shouldn't be focusing on attacking people straight up, but also having a long distance attack, which of course, like the first attack that we ever saw All Might do was a Detroit Smash, and he used the wind pressure, which ended up being like a long distance attack. So of course that would have to come into play. And it's interesting that it makes sense, especially with the flick as well, bringing the Delaware Smash back, because that was in theory a long distance attack as well. I mean, especially when you first use it, but I like the fact that that's the one that he's going, like that's the one that he's going for, and focusing at 20% into the finger. I mean, that could be deadly. I don't think it will be, but that's crazy. So yeah, 20% in the Delaware Smash, which is I just like the fact that that's the one he's using, and I mean, of course, he can use it in other methods, like putting 20% into his shoot style. That also causes wind pressure, but not as a focus point. I mean, it's interesting if you take Midoriya's Delaware Smash. It's very similar to Bakugo's armor piercing one. Where they focus it into a single point. It's very similar in that regard. So yeah, of course, focusing it into that sort of, that small a sort of area would direct more impact. I'd imagine it wouldn't. Obviously, it doesn't have an area of effect. It's more like direct, but that's why it would have obviously more impact, and you could probably shoot it further as well. But yeah, I don't know. And I like the fact that he obviously brought up that All Might wasn't at 100% the whole time, which is interesting. Like going back to when, what was it like? It would have been like episode 14 of season 2, which is funny because that's the one episode that I don't have in my playlist, because I fucking when I was re-uploading things and whatnot, I accidentally deleted it without having downloaded it. I completely forgot, and then I just completely lost the file. That sucks. But that was the episode where I think that was the episode where he figured out to turn the whole thing on, or keep the whole thing on the whole time. and that's where he learned obviously full cowling and stuff. And at that moment, it was easy to think that that's what All Might was doing, except he was doing it at 100%. So the idea was that when Deku was going up against Overhaul and he had Eri on his back going at 100% the whole time, it's easy to think that like that's pretty much what All Might was doing, but he wasn't, because All Might's 100% is different to Deku's 100%. Deku going at 100% was like it wasn't carrying a fucking, you know, the wind pressure with it. He was able to kick and whatnot and use wind pressure to direct himself, but he wasn't destroying the air around him, like destroying like, you know, the things around him just by using One for All and jumping around, which is what he said that All Might would have done if he kept 100% at the whole time. So yeah, All Might when he was fighting and everything like that, he was changing the output of percentage until he would actually attack, I'd assume, and then he would throw in the higher percentage at that point of impact, and then turn it back off again. You know, so yeah, that's it's really cool. It makes me like want to go back and watch his first fight with Nomu and just like think of it in that like of him fighting but changing it up at certain points, you know. It's really cool. So yeah, that's the next step of Deku learning and progressing, is, you know, just focusing it into different areas and changing his percentage at will during like sort of mid-fight and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to see him work that out. I love the stage of I mean, they even showed it. Yeah, they went through his stages of progression, and it's really, really well paced. Like the stages of progression for Deku is really, really well paced. You know, I think it's easy for us to kind of, you know, for a lot of us to like sit back and just say, oh god, I just want him to fucking, you know, go 100% like the whole time. But I just feel like it makes it interesting, and the fights have never been boring, you know, because that allows Deku to sort of, I mean, because he's got a brain for a reason. He was always at 100%. He would like, I mean, yeah, he would have to, you know, use his brain, but I feel like he has to use his brain more, which is one of his biggest assets anyway. So, you know, by having to figure all this stuff out, it lends itself well, you know, to the show, and of course it allows for the pacing as he gets stronger and everything. You know, so it just works that way. And that's the way it is inclined. But yeah, I mean, I'm fucking enjoying this. I'm really enjoying these episodes. Like I said, I think this arc was kind of tailor-made for me. You know, I'm really, really enjoying it. So yeah, I mean, that's all I've got. So, thank you everybody for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. If you have any questions or anything, get yourself over there. And I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, depending on how much you want to support me with. So there's the early access tier for $5 a month. That gives you access to shows a week early. And you'll get, obviously, the early access to to episode 2 of the show that I'm reacting to tomorrow. So yeah, enjoy that if you wish. I also have a full-length tier there, so if you do want to watch any of my reactions in full, then you can do by going over that there and becoming a full-length tier patron and whatnot. And then there are other tiers where you can pay to have a show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, go have a look at those tiers and see what they offer. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.